I'm 81 years old, and I lost my marriage so slowly that I didn't notice it was gone until there was nothing left to lose. That's the truth of it. No shouting, no slammed doors, no single moment I can point to and say, "There, that's when it ended." It just thinned out, like a thread pulled apart one fiber at a time. I'm not telling you this because I think it can be fixed now. It can't. I'm telling you because I have more years behind me than ahead, and I've started to understand things I didn't have the patience to see when I was younger. These days, the house is quiet in a way that feels permanent, not peaceful, just settled, like dust. I wake up early, out of habit. There's no reason to anymore, but the body doesn't ask for reasons. It just repeats what it knows. I make tea for one. I still reach for 2 cups sometimes out of reflex, and then I stop myself halfway through. It's a small thing. Most of it was small things. When I was in my 20s, I met her at a wedding. Not ours, someone else's. She was sitting at a table near the back, laughing at something I couldn't hear. I remember thinking she looked like she belonged somewhere better than that room. We talked that night. Nothing remarkable, just easy. That's what I remember most. It was easy to be around her. No effort, no performance. I didn't have to be interesting. I could just be there. We got married 2 years later. A modest ceremony. My parents were proud. Hers were relieved, I think. We didn't have much money, but we had plans. Everyone has plans at that age. I started working long hours not long after. It felt necessary. That's what I told myself. We wanted a house, stability, a future that looked solid from the outside. I believed that if I worked hard enough, everything else would take care of itself. She didn't complain in the beginning. She understood, or at least she said she did. She would wait up for me some nights, sitting on the couch with a book she wasn't really reading. "How was your day?" she'd ask. I'd say, "Busy. Always busy." It became my answer for everything. At the time, it felt like I was doing the right thing, providing, building something. That word, providing, it carried a lot of weight for me. I thought it was the same as loving. It isn't. There were small moments I remember now, clearer than I did back then. Moments that didn't seem important at the time. She'd start telling me about something, someone at work, a conversation she had, something that bothered her, and I'd nod while looking at my plate, thinking about the next day. "Are you listening?" she'd ask sometimes. "Yeah, of course," I'd say, even when I wasn't. Not really. I thought being there physically was enough, sitting in the same room, sharing the same space. I didn't understand that attention is a kind of presence, too. Maybe the most important kind.
We had our first child when I was 32, a daughter. I remember holding her for the first time and feeling something shift inside me, a sense of responsibility that was heavier than anything I'd known before. I worked even more after that. It sounds strange now, but at the time it made sense. More responsibility meant more work. More work meant more security. I told myself I was doing it for them. She didn't say much during those years. That was the thing about her. She wasn't loud with her needs. She didn't demand. She adjusted. That made it easier for me to ignore what was happening. There were nights I came home and she was already asleep. There were mornings I left before she woke up. Days went by where our conversations were reduced to logistics. Did you pay the bill? Can you pick up milk? The doctor's appointment is on Thursday. We became efficient with each other, functional, like coworkers managing a shared project. I didn't notice the change because nothing dramatic announced it. There was no clear line between what we had and what we became. Just less. Less talking, less laughing, less reaching for each other without thinking. I remember one evening, maybe 10 years into the marriage, she had made dinner, something simple. We sat at the table and she started telling me about a trip her friend was planning. "She invited us," she said. I nodded, barely looking up. "We'll see. Work's busy right now." She was quiet for a moment. "You're always busy," she said, not accusing, just stating it. I didn't respond. I didn't think it required a response. That was one of many silences. They add up, those silences. They don't feel like much in the moment, just a pause, a gap. But over time, they become the whole conversation. Our daughter grew up. I missed more of it than I care to admit. School events, small milestones, ordinary afternoons that I assumed would repeat themselves. There's a kind of arrogance in thinking there will always be another chance. There isn't. By the time I slowed down at work, by the time I thought I had finally built enough, she had already learned how to live without me in the ways that mattered. She had her routines, her friends, her own quiet life that didn't depend on my presence. We were still married, on paper, in photographs, in the way we introduced each other to strangers. But something essential had already slipped away. I remember the first time I really felt it. We were sitting in the living room, watching television. Not really watching, just filling the space with noise. I said something, I don't even remember what, and she didn't respond. Not because she didn't hear me, because it didn't reach her. I looked at her, really looked, and realized I didn't know what she was thinking. I hadn't known for a long time. That scared me, not in a loud way, in a quiet, sinking way. "Are you okay?" I asked. She nodded. "I'm fine." That word, fine, it covered everything we didn't say. I thought about asking more. I thought about turning off the television, about sitting down and really talking, maybe for the first time in years.
But I didn't. I told myself it wasn't the right moment, that we were both tired, that we could talk later. Later became another silence. Years passed like that. Not unhappy exactly, just distant. Parallel lives under the same roof. We didn't fight. People think that's a good sign. It isn't always. Sometimes it just means there's nothing left to fight for. The turning point didn't come as a dramatic scene. No one packed their bags in the middle of the night. No one shouted, "I can't do this anymore." It came in a conversation that was almost polite. We were sitting at the kitchen table, morning light, 2 cups of tea, untouched. "I think we've been living separate lives for a while," she said. I didn't argue. That's what stays with me. I didn't argue, because I knew she was right. "We have," I said. There was a long pause. "I don't feel married anymore," she said. Neither did I. I just hadn't put it into words. We talked for a while after that, calmly, reasonably, like 2 people discussing something that had already been decided without them. No blame, no raised voices. That's how it ended. Not with anger, but with agreement. We separated not long after. The paperwork was straightforward. Years of a shared life reduced to forms and signatures. People asked what happened. I didn't have a simple answer. Things changed, I'd say. But that wasn't it. Things didn't change. They faded. That's harder to explain. What can't be fixed now isn't just the marriage. It's the years we spent not really seeing each other. The conversations we never had. The moments that passed quietly and didn't come back. I sometimes try to remember the last time we laughed together without effort. I can't. That bothers me more than the separation itself. She's still alive. We speak occasionally. Birthdays, holidays, polite check-ins. "How are you?" I ask. "I'm doing well," she says. And I believe her. I think she learned how to build a life that didn't rely on someone who wasn't fully there. I don't blame her for that. If anything, I respect it. As for me, I have a lot of time now.
time I used to think I didn't have. It's a strange thing having time when the people you wanted to share it with have already moved on. I think about all the moments I treated as unimportant, the small conversations I postponed, the evenings I spent distracted, half listening, assuming there would be more. There is always a more until there isn't. If you're listening to this, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't think it works that way. People don't change because someone else tells them to. But I will tell you what I wish I had understood sooner. Being present isn't something that happens automatically just because you're in the same room. It's a choice, a quiet one, made over and over again. And silence isn't empty. It carries weight. It fills the space where something else should have been. I thought silence was harmless. I thought it meant everything was fine. Sometimes it means everything is slipping away without resistance. If this meant something to you, if it reminded you of someone sitting in the same room as you, maybe just listen a little more closely next time they speak. Not because it will fix everything, it might not, but because one day you may realize that what you lost didn't leave all at once. It left in moments you barely noticed. I'm 81 now. I don't have the kind of time I used to assume was waiting for me. The house is quiet tonight. It usually is. I'll make my tea, sit in the same chair, and let the evening pass the way it does. There's a kind of acceptance that comes with age. Not peace exactly, just an understanding that some things don't return no matter how clearly you see them in hindsight. I lost my marriage one silence at a time, and the hardest part is knowing I was there for all of it.